Hi, good morning. Here with Kate Dennis from Dennis Distribution. How you doing, Kate?
Good, thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you very much for coming on to the Business Spotlight series. So, if you could start us off and give us a little bit more information around who you are, what it is you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
We're a refrigerated transport business. The business started with my great great grandfather. So we're going back a lot of years. If I don't divulge exactly how old I am. And he started with horse and cart. We've got some pictures in the office of the old trucks that he then started to purchase and use, which looked pretty dodgy with sort of sacks of potatoes or whatever it was hanging off the side of them. And he also did coal, so it shows how many years back we're going. But to cut a very long story short, my grandfather then took over the business from my great grandfather and ran a couple of trucks, which I kind of remember when I was a child. Blue trucks, I remember them sort of mostly being agricultural haulage, and really was of no intention of mine to join the business at all. I went away to London to seek my fortune, suddenly realised that being in London wasn't for me. I was a northerner. So I came back home sort of wondering what to do, and I was probably hanging around the house and annoying my parents. So Dad said, "Well, Grandpa's not very well. Why don't you go and help him?" I think he had four trucks at this point. So my grandfather was quite well known, not probably not always for the right reasons. He was quite cantankerous, although I think he was quite well loved, but he was certainly a character.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, we sort of had lots of fallouts, but somehow we got through it. I managed to hold on to the four vehicles, gain a little bit of extra business for a couple of others from what was then Malton Farmers Market, which is now Malton Bacon Factory, taken on lots of different Carve Foods. It is now. It's had lots of different guises. We still work for them, incidentally. And unfortunately, my grandfather died during this period, and we had six trucks. So it was a little bit sink or swim, really. Do I carry on with the business or not? So I decided I would, and the people that then ran Malton Bacon Factory said to us, "We've got four lorries. We don't really want to run lorries. Do you want to take our lorries over?" So we went from six to 10 pretty much overnight.
Wow.
And the business has grown organically, really, from there. We've had highs and lows. We've had to sell trucks when we've lost business. We've had to buy more. So, it's 40 years is a long time, but we're basically, we have 40 units now, and we have about just short of 70 trailers. They vary, predominantly refrigerated. Most of our work is in the food industry. They vary from refrigerated trailers, food tankers, and some ambient curtain siders, but we don't do a lot of ambient work. It's really just to help our customers who already need us for refrigerated. All size of trucks, right from 40 foot
Yeah.
right the way down to small vans.
Fantastic. I mean, admiration. Well, one, what a great business story in terms of the history and the family company that it is, and then yeah, your kind of journey, obviously, the experience that you must have gained during that time, and yeah, in admiration of that. So we'll go into a little bit more about that, I think. But yeah, what would you describe, I suppose, in one word, what your business journey has been like to date, and then sort of expand on that?
Well, I think everybody, tumultuous would probably be, a word I would use,
I've
because
not heard that
we
one before, but that's a great word. Yeah.
we've had highs and lows,
Yeah.
and I think when it's a family business, you do end up taking it a little bit personally sometimes, because it's yours and it's got your name on the side of the truck, and so it means a lot to you. But I've also, I mean, I've grown massively throughout the time of the business. I've learned so much. I've made mistakes. I've had luck. I've had bad luck. I've capitalized on the good things and tried not to get too down with the bad things. So yeah, it's been a tumultuous journey, but I think ultimately, after all that length of time, and with all that happens in the business world, particularly the trucking world, which is it's notoriously competitive, margins are very low, it's hard to keep going in this industry, and you have to have a slight point of difference. But I think ultimately I've had good teams behind me, and I think that's one of the most important things, is to build good teams. I have undoubtedly had people who are far better than me within the business. I can say yes and no, I can make a decision, I will back my teams up, but they are the people who, particularly now, the team that's in place, they know far more about haulage and transport than I ever do.
Right, that's a couple of things coming out there. You mentioned about point of difference in that answer. So again, and the stuff around team that we can look into. But that point of difference, what would you say is that in such a competitive industry for you?
Well, we've remained quite niche, and we try to work with companies who want to work in partnership. We don't do truckloads into Tesco, 40 trucks a day. We don't do anything like that. We work with several customers who want a specific requirement. We work with a lot of meat companies. They want hanging trailers. We work with some dairy companies who want goat's milk or condensed milk carried in a particular temperature. So it's not something that the big boys can do, because you're not talking about en masse where you can create cost cutting. You're talking about something that's specific. So we've built specific trailers for particular customers. We will put the names of our customers on the sides of the trailers if they want that to be the case. So for all intents and purposes, we will run as if we are that particular customer. We have some trailers with Dennis distribution on the side, but majority of our trailers probably have the names of the customers on the side of them. So we've very much stuck to what the customer wants, and we will respond. And we try to work with those customers who want something a little bit out of the ordinary.
Great stuff. And in terms of the future, then the history that you have, what does this future look like for you guys? Challenges, the opportunities going ahead at the moment?
I mean, there are obviously a lot of challenges. I mean, I'm sure most people won't read the transport magazines on a weekly basis, but if you do, certainly my general manager is forever saying to me, "Oh God, have you seen so and so's gone out of business?" And every week there's a different haulage company is going out of business, and I feel for them, because the rate, we're sort of at the end of the chain, really. So the rates get driven down to the very last dot. And obviously during COVID, when drivers were in shortage, we had to put wages up. So margins are very low. And I think that maintaining sort of prices to make money will always be a challenge. We've also got sustainability challenges. We've got people don't want diesel trucks on the road anymore. So obviously we don't currently have any alternative fuels at the moment, but we are looking at electric vehicles. We've just upped the electricity capacity in our yard so that we could charge vehicles as and when that time comes. You can also get now the new fridge units that have the solar panels on the top. So again, that will be something that we'll consider. Hydrogen vehicles, I think because we're a little bit smaller, we don't have the cost base to go out and buy these expensive vehicles. We're kind of seeing where things are going to go, but undoubtedly we are going to get challenged by sustainability at some point, and constantly adapting. There's obviously things modernise. We've got AI to try and adapt into our business. I have no idea where that's going to fit into our business, but members of the team looking at it already, more in terms of planning and things like that. So and I think with the recent budget as well, we've got the more current challenges will be incorporating the national insurance increases, because passing that on is going to be really difficult. A lot of the people that we work for have factories with hundreds of people, so they're going to have to incorporate that. So it's definitely going to be a challenging year next year.
Yeah, interesting times. But I mean, for your resilience that you've shown to get to this point, and that kind of summary of challenges and opportunities as well, you say with AI and sustainability and looking to make improvements that maybe you're forced to make, but all being well, they can be ones that also present opportunities as well.
No, we're starting to embrace change. The majority of the work we've done in the past has been what I'd call full loads. Mm-hmm. And now we are looking at more of a consolidation offering, which is something we hadn't done before, but we're finding a lot of our current customers were interested in this. And so it's something that we're starting to grow. And that part of the business, it's actually bringing new customers to us, customers that want a smaller amount of pallets delivered, and we can consolidate them on one vehicle. So again, that goes to the sustainability, so that we're having less vehicles travelling to one point. So that's something that the team have massively embraced, and there's a lot of work being done on it at the moment. So I see a growth for us in that sector.
Great stuff. And you mentioned team there, and I'm going to ask you about your biggest lesson to date. If there's one you can pick out, and you said earlier about team as well, having the right team around you and giving them the responsibility to take on knowledge and decisions on your behalf. What is that biggest lesson? Is it based around teams or anything else that you'd like to share?
Gosh, I mean, I've learned a lot of lessons over the years, but I think that you have to not be afraid to let people go, and sometimes you have to bring it to the attention of team members that they are no longer where they should be. And sometimes you have to listen to a team member that says, actually, this is changing beyond what I can handle. I mean, I suppose one of the hardest lessons I had was when I had a team that worked for me, and the head of that team was finding it very difficult to embrace change. He was very much a telephone man. All the orders were taken on the phone. He didn't really understand computers. I mean, obviously we're going back a little while now, but he struggled with it. And instead of sort of putting his hand up and saying, do you know what, maybe it's time for me to move on, because he wasn't happy. So it's not being afraid to have the difficult conversations, I think.
Good lesson. Great share there. So if you were to go back in time to the start of your journey and give yourself a bit of advice, what would that be?
I would say, don't ever take yourself too seriously. I think that's a really important thing. I mean, I think as a family we have a good sense of humour, but sometimes things can get you down. And I've had we've had quite a few lows, but I think you have to just sit in there with it and realise that these things will pass and better times will come. So ride the highs when they're there and enjoy them, and just be a little bit resilient, keep a sense of humour, don't take offence, and definitely try to hire people better than you.
Good advice. I'll share that. Thank you. And so what kind of inspires you then, Kate, to do what you do all this time? What do you use as inspiration to kind of keep going, I guess?
I think certainly at the moment, my current team are the people that inspire me the most, because it's my position to be provocative. We'll look at the figures and I'll say, why is this? Why is that? And they'll probably say, oh, God, why is she picking that to pieces? But they
Yeah.
always go away and come back with something fairly innovative that I would never have thought of. And so I always say to them, almost at the end of each week, my God, I've given you a problem and you've super resolved it and come out with something else that has got more opportunities. So we very much believe in further development for the team. And we do quite a lot of work with a company who do further development with them all. Majority of the senior team have been on courses. If there's anything that they want to cover, then I always let them do that. So I think that's really important for personal development, and they've really come up trumps with that.
Great stuff. Yeah, another good share on that with your team. So then lastly, Kate, in terms of any latest news about what you're up to, or even if it's a case of sharing, say, your website, contact details for people to get in touch if they'd like to know more about what you do, feel free to do that now.
Yeah, well, I think probably as I mentioned, we're now doing the consolidated pallet deliveries. So that certainly opens us up to a lot of new customers, smaller businesses, people who may be a little bit niche-y, food businesses that only have maybe 4 or 5 pallets a week to deliver. And they're in our catchment area, which pretty much ranges all the way from Hull right the way across to sort of south West Yorkshire, all the way up to the northeast coast. So it's a fairly big catchment area. So I'd say that's pretty much a growth area for us. And yes, they can have a look at us on, it's a bit of a mouthful, www.dennisdistribution, all one word, .co.uk.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kate. Really appreciate all the lessons and experience that you've shared there. It's a great story, and I wish you all the best for the next 40 years.
God forbid.
Thanks, Kate.